Welcome to Refresh Your Future, and today we're joined by Richard, who's going to be talking to us about catering. So Richard, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Richard Blower. I'm the Catering Internal Quality Assurer here at Busy Bees. I head up most of the catering qualifications and look after those and the people that assess them and look after the learners. I've been in catering since I left school, so it's the only industry that I've ever really worked in until I worked for training. Yeah, so quite a number of years.
So can you tell us a little bit about the Catering Apprenticeship then?
Sure.
What does it entail?
Okay, so we deliver 2 catering qualifications. So I'll talk to them about them each in turn. So the first one is the Production Chef Apprenticeship. And this is designed for people that, if you like, are just entering the catering industry. It's where you'll learn the basic skills that you need to be a chef or work in the catering industry. So the way that the apprenticeship is set out is it's made up of 3 sections, which are the skills, which are the job that you actually do and how to do things. You've got the knowledge side of it, which is the understanding of why you do it, like the way that you do it. And of course, we've got the behaviours. So this is more about generally how you behave at work and the way you work and your approach to work, that kind of thing. Now, under each of those 3, there's some subtopics that we also cover. So the big one that we do is kitchen operations. So this is your day-to-day preparation of food, working in the kitchen, making sure everything's done on time and learning those basic skills you need to make food and produce food. The next section is all about nutrition. This is where you'll learn about the key nutritional aspects of preparing food that you within the workplace. Then we talk about and you learn about the legal side of it and the law, because those that have ever been or know anything about the food industry, there's a lot of laws and regulations that we have to abide by to make sure everybody's kept safe. So you'll learn about food safety, that kind of thing, health and safety, and all the things that go along with that as well. There's another section called people, and this is about customers. So this is the people you work with. It's about the people that are going to be your customers, and it's about those interactions and how you meet their needs within your role as a production chef. Then there's another section that's all about what we call business and commercial. So this is understanding the industry that you work in. Okay, and the organisation that you work in, why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
All right, so this is understanding, and that might be, depends who you work for. If you think about some of the big brands that are out there, they have their own way of doing things. So you'll learn about that and those kind of things. And that's all about things like finance as well, because a lot of people don't understand that, okay, you might be a chef, but you need to know what you're making and what it costs and things like that. The next section is all about you as a person, which is personal development and your own personal performance. So in this, it's understanding the importance of your own development and your own career path within that. So that's where you'll identify where you want to go. The catering industry is massive, okay? Loads of different establishments that you can go from. So you could start off in a very small kitchen, catering for maybe 50, 60 people. But after you've done the apprenticeship, you could move on and you can then go into larger industries, that kind of thing. So you could find yourself in, let me think now, school, college, nurseries, factory canteens, anything like that. Care homes, because they've got, kitchens and that kind of thing. So you can take it and, they become very transferable skill within the industry. I did talk about some of the behaviours. So they're about, the job and how to do it and why you're doing it. Then we've got what we call the behaviours. And this is about, about leading by example, taking pride in your work and doing it correctly and that kind of thing, and becoming a part of the team.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where we talk about behaviours. So now each one of those is broken down into hundreds of various bits that are far too complicated to go into now. But obviously, when you're working on the apprenticeship, you'll find, you'll get to know and understand all of those little particular bits of each standard.
And who helps support them with those skills? Because obviously for me, when we were talking earlier about catering, I've tried to cook. I get my ingredients, I've got my times, and it all looks perfect, absolutely perfect. And when I go and do it, it's like, this has been cooked before, this has started, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if I'm a person, I'd be ideal for an apprenticeship for catering, because I haven't got a clue. Kind of, I do try, but I don't. So if people to come and support me in the setting that provide those skills.
Okay, so we, as an apprenticeship with Busy Bees, you will be given a dedicated development coach, and that person will come in. They will work with you and your employer, and they will put a plan together that says, right, this is what we need to learn, and this is how we're going to learn it. A lot of it's on the job, so you'll learn to cook by cooking and doing it. It's a very hands-on apprenticeship. Working with your colleagues, your supervisors, your managers, and then you'll get the additional support from your development coach, where they may come in and say, okay, today I'm going to teach you to make sauces or whatever it is you need to learn. But it's all done as a bit of a partnership between your development coach, you, and your employer, your manager, or whoever it is that you work with. So there is a lot of support there. There's a lot of resources that we give that help you to get those skills and knowledge in order to get to the stage where you're ready to be assessed. Okay, so that kind of brings me on then so that's the, if you like, the bits and bobs of it and what you're going to learn and how you're going to learn it. The way that an apprenticeship works these days is that having done that learning and all that training and got the skills, got the knowledge, you then need to get assessed.
Yeah.
Okay, so we presently use a company called Training Qualifications UK. So once you're ready, we will let them know, and they will then agree with you and your line manager where you're going to be assessed.
So is this the endpoint assessment?
So it's the endpoint assessment, it's known as, yeah. So this is after a 12-month period. So you've got to do a minimum of 12 months training.
Yeah.
Then provided you're ready, we've done everything that we need, we can then put you through for an EPA. And the EPA for the production chef is made up of three main parts. There's a test, which is just knowledge, which is usually online, multiple choice. Okay, so it's just the knowledge based. The next thing you actually get is a practical observation. So the assessor will actually come in and watch you. I think, if memory serves me right, it's about 90 minutes, where they'll watch your work and they want to see, can you do the job?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where they'll do that. Then, having watched you and observed you doing the job, they then have what we call a professional discussion. And it's about a 40-minute professional discussion where they talk about you, they talk about the industry, what you've learnt, and that kind of thing, to get that deeper understanding of, do you really know what you're doing and why you're doing it. Provided that you pass all of those, you then get your apprenticeship certificate. Now, one of the things about apprenticeships is that tagged on to all of this catering, of course, is your functional skills. So that's your maths and your English. Now, if you're doing the production chef qualification, you're required to obtain level 1 functional skills in maths and English, or if you've already gained GCSEs or anything like that, you can carry those over. Okay, so you need to have done that and achieved that to go through for EPA. And as with all level 2 apprenticeships, you have to have attempted level 2 functional skills. You don't have to have passed it, but you've got to give it a go. Yeah.
Getting you ready for the next stage.
So provided you've done all the training, you've got your functional skills or your equivalents in maths and English, we can then put you through your endpoint assessment. There's 2 grading systems. You either pass it or it's a distinction, and there's lots of permutations. You don't have to get a pass in everything or a distinction in everything to get that. But there's lots of ways you can do that. So that's the way that it's graded. Once you've done that, you've got all that, that's it, end of the apprenticeship, you've achieved it, you get your apprenticeship certificate.
And you're ready to move on to my next one?
Yeah, you are indeed, which brings me nicely onto the next stage and the next apprenticeship that we deliver. So the next one is the senior production chef. Okay, so in this qualification, we kind of assume you know how to cook and you've got the skills and the experience from the previous one. The big difference with this one is that you've got to be in a position where you're supervising people.
Yeah.
Okay. So provided you're supervising someone, you can do this. So it's pretty similar in the makeup. So there's the know it, the skills, and there's behaviours. That doesn't change. Okay. The only difference is the topics are a little bit different. So kitchen operations, it's still there, but it's not about doing a cook's job now. It's about controlling it, managing it, understanding when things go wrong, what to do, how to put it right, and that kind of thing. So it's about supervising people to do the job in the kitchen and organising that. There is a bit about nutrition again, but it goes into a little bit more depth, and it's understanding why the nutrition counts and how to plan a menu around nutrition, that kind of thing. Legal and governance is always there,
Yeah.
but again, it's not just knowing the law, it's being able to understand it and how to implement it and how to supervise it, how to monitor that things are happening. So that's where it changes a little bit different. People still there, so but it's not just about customers and people you work with now, it's about the people that you supervise, and it's about developing them, your interaction with them. It's almost leadership skills at that stage, at this level. And then there's business and commercial. Now, as you can imagine, business commercial is a lot different when you get to a supervisory level, because it's really understanding business, costings, why we do things, branding, the importance of why we do what we do. So it takes a whole new level on the business side of it. And then the behaviours are still there, but it's more about now leading people and how you behave to your staff, to your team, and how you lead those. So the behaviours are still there. And again, each of those, that's skimming the surface of what's covered. Each of those, we've got more in-depth standard under each one, which again, once you become on the apprenticeship, you'll get taught through that. Again, pretty similar. You get your development coach. They work with you. They help you train. They work with your employees still to get you the jobs and the knowledge and the skills to supervise people. Okay? So that doesn't change. It's assessed the same. So we still go into EPA. The only difference, one of the differences, is that because it's an higher level apprenticeship, you now require level 2 functional skills.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to achieve level 2 maths and English or equivalent to actually go through for EPA. And believe it or not, the assessment's pretty much the same. There's an online test, which is all about supervisory. Okay, why you do things, how you supervise people. You still get observed, but now they're watching and observing how you run that kitchen.
Yeah.
How you organise your team, how you supervise that they're doing the job that they need to do. And then again, following that, there's a 60-minute professional discussion where they'll talk to you about your job, your role, the industry, to get that in-depth knowledge of, do you understand what you do and why you do it? Okay, and again, you can either gain a pass or a distinction based on the grades that you get throughout those. So that's how it's all assessed, and the standard.
Exciting.
It is. It's. I mean, I'm very biased because, like I say, I've been in the industry since the day I left school. So it's. I'm very passionate about the industry.
So you talk about you've been in the industry since you've been in school. So what kinds of jobs have you done, and what's led you to be a person that's sharing your knowledge now and supporting those new learners that are coming into the apprenticeships?
Yeah, I mean, when I left school, if you go, which I won't go as far back as that, but I had to go to college. I had no choice. The only way I could train as a chef was to go 2 years at college to get a qualification. Then I moved into the industry. I was lucky enough, I've worked predominantly in very large scale industry, catering. So I've worked in factory canteens, that kind of thing, universities. The side that I worked is I actually worked in prison catering for a long, long while. And it's working in prison catering and managing those kitchens where I became involved in training prisoners and people to get qualifications. And that's where I found my passion for training, particularly work-based training. I'm a big, really passionate and believer in work-based training, learning the job by doing it on a daily basis and learning those skills. And then from there, I've had various training and teaching jobs within the catering and industry.
Obviously, at the moment with COVID that's happened, the hospitality and catering industry has been affected. But at the moment with Busy Bees, we've got over, I think there might be 40 vacancies for catering apprentices. So what's the benefit of coming to work for a nursery setting and doing their catering? Because obviously, for me, for looking on the inside, outside in, nurseries are open from Monday to Friday. They're lovely hours. Catering, I presume, hospitality is 7 days a week, can be evenings and stuff.
It can be.
So there is that. So what would you say that person we're looking for that wants to come into a nursery setting to help in the kitchens and to start their apprenticeship journey?
I think one of the things is that you're not going to be daunted by the size, because they're not massive, particularly great big massive kitchens and that kind of thing. So it's an environment that's a lot more friendlier than the ones I'm used to. And where I started out, where you'll be working with a relatively small team. So it's a very, very safe environment to learn those basic skills without mega pressure, if I'm being honest, of having to deliver, 1,000 meals or something like that. But it's a manageable, it's not going to be daunting, especially if it's your first job.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a very, I like the idea because it's an environment where, because you're in a small team, you will get more support and probably more interest in what you're doing than if you was part of a wider, bigger team. Yeah.
So at the moment, our vacancies are on. Where can you find them? Are they on the website?
They're on the training website, yes, and they're all over the country. So they're not, it doesn't matter where you're. I'm almost guarantee you'll find one near you. I'd recommend and get anybody to sign up and do that, because like I say, it is, if it's your first job, you will be in safe hands.
Okay. Thank you. Have you got any questions from the floor?
Just a couple. So what is the employer's responsibility in regards to the catering EPA, and what do they need to know?
Right, so as like all employers' responsibilities, you will be involved in helping that learner get the skills. So you'll be working with the DC and you'll be working with the learner to make sure that they're covering the standards, that they're meeting all of those. One thing I didn't mention was off the job training. So this is part of the funding, that you have to do 20% off the job, and we will work with the employer to get that, and we'll talk them through the minefield that can be off the job. But my experience is, if you've got somebody in apprenticeship in the catering that's never worked in catering before, finding the training hours is easier, because everything they do is learning, basically. When it comes to the EPA, it's a bit different. Every EPA for each sector is a little different. But basically what happens is, I will sit down with an employer, I'll sit down with the employer and the learner, and we'll have a discussion about what they've done over the last 12 months, what they've learnt, how they feel, are they ready, and do they believe they're in a position to do the assessment. If we're all in agreement, I contact the assessment company, and they basically take over from there. They talk to you, they arrange for the exam to be sat. They'll then arrange a date and a time that suits you and the learner to come along and do the observation and the professional discussion.
Okay, brilliant. And then obviously you spoke about your journey and how you went from school, working in catering, working in prisons. What other roles can people get into after securing a catering qualification?
It can lead you to places where you don't think, and organisations that you don't think. I mean, obviously everybody thinks about kitchens and cooking and preparing food, that kind of thing. But if I look at my own journey, you know, I also went into an area manager's job. So although I moved away from the actual day-to-day running of it, I became a bigger picture in the management of a contract, that kind of thing. So it will lead you there. You can transfer it. I mean, what we do, as in the production chefs, are designed around establishments such as nurseries, schools, colleges, that kind of large scale. Okay. But you will learn skills that can be transferred to cafes, hotels, restaurants, to that kind of thing. But they do have their own very specialised apprenticeship if that's the area that you want to go to. But excuse me, in my experience, if you want to work nights, evenings and weekends, they're your hotels and your restaurants. When you come to large scale catering, they tend to be a bit more sociable hours, shall we say, Monday to Friday during the day. It's one of the things that attracted me to that sector.
And I suppose the world's your oyster as well, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I mean, in my early days, I explored working on cruise ships. I even looked at joining the armed forces. If you think about that kind of thing as well, you know that. So there's not many industries that don't have some connection with catering these days.
Okay, thank you.
And I think there's Simon, one of the development coaches, got a video on our website at the
Yes.
moment talking
Yeah.
about to an apprentice, so they
Yeah.
can share their journey as well if people want to have a look at that as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Richard. It's
Okay,
been very
thank you.
insightful. Thank you.